So welcome. Welcome to Chronic Business Resources Small Business Triage Summit. I'm sitting here with some phenomenal coaches that we're going to get to know in about 30 seconds. And they are going to impart some fantastic wisdom on how to handle this really weird, bizarre situation we are all in. And I'm so happy that you guys took the time to attend because I know there's a ton of stuff going on. And there's more than a couple of webinars. So thank you for joining ours. I'm going to start. I'm Ann Connor, Chronic Business Resources. I'm a business coach that I work on mostly financials and strategy and organizational structure. I have an online learning system that's Chronic Business Resources online training where anybody can go in and take classes and learn about all sorts of things about your business that you might not know. And hopefully today, the biggest thing I would like to impart on you is the fact that strategy, focus, and looking towards the future should not stop, even though we're in this really strange time. And now's the time to, once we settle in, to really figure out where we want to go and what we need to do with our business. So we are ready. We are absolutely ready to hit the ground running. So with that, let's turn it over to Carol.
Yes, hi there, and welcome everybody. So I see Michelle. She turned on her camera. We've got my new BFF, and I can't wait to find out who you are. So I'm going to dare you. I'm going to throw out a dare to put your real name in. I swear I won't tell anybody. So welcome to Taryn. Oh, hey, Taryn. Oh my gosh. Taryn's one of my buddies. Taryn came for me. Yay! Hello. See, she's not shy. We've got Caitlin. So welcome to everybody. And for those of you who don't know me, which is more or less everybody that's participating except for Taryn. So I am a business coach for entrepreneurs with service-based businesses. And lots of times they have ADHD, but they don't always have to have that. And Anne asked me, like, what is the one thing that you would want somebody to walk away with that you didn't have before? And I can tell you what, it's all about de-stuckification, right? It's how to get yourself out of this propensity to hide. Because we're all in the same situation, right? We're all in this lockdown, like we're in makeshift places. This is not my regular office. And it's like, oh my gosh, every time you turn around, there's something different. So my whole hope for you all today, and then of course I'm going to be at 3 o'clock Eastern on Wednesday, right, Ann? And I'll throw down the link then because I'm just finishing this up. It's the Savvy Business Owner's Guide to Thinking Strategically During a Crisis. So we will unlock that, and I'll give some tips and ask questions about that. It's all about, as you say, Anne, being strategic. So with that, we'll move it on to the next person. And thank you so much for attending. I'm super excited to be here for you.
Hey, Susan, how about you?
Well, hello, I'm Susan Fennema. I am the Chaos Eradicating Officer, that's CEO, of Beyond the Chaos. My company helps professional services, small businesses, same market as Carol. In fact, we even have some of the same clients, but we do different things for them. I help them with project management and developing operational processes. So from the idea of how do you even create a project management system to actually doing project management, and then also to writing the process surrounding the operations of your business. I've been doing this for about 4 years. I have worked from home for 10 years. Without even an office to go to for 10 years. So I'm in a special place of understanding how this works. And that's what I'm going to talk about on my session on Wednesday, is how those team communications can work. How do we enhance communications when we can't see each other? I actually have an employee that's worked for me for 3 years, and I have never met her in person. So it's very, very possible, and I love her too. It's very, very possible to develop those relationships without that in-person connection, which we're all learning how to do right now. And then the other session that I'm going to lead is on Friday, and it is about what we can be doing if we're finding some downtime. And right now, systemizing your business is a place that you can spend some time if you have downtime. Not everybody has downtime, but some people are finding that they don't know what to do with their time. So that is a place that you can really start to be able to come out of the gate flying when you start. I think the big thing I want everyone to take away from this is to not be afraid of technology. I love technology, and I know so many people are starting and trying it for the first time, and I hope they're finding the spectacularness of it, and embrace it, and don't be afraid of it, and absolutely admit things like, I don't know how it works. Who's done this before? Help me. And the amount of compassion and empathy you're going to get right now is so much more than if you had done that 3 weeks ago. So embrace it.
Awesome. Hey, Jeff, what you?
Keep it short and sweet. Jeff Sari, Workplace Culture Solutions, based out of Keene, New Hampshire. I have been called the executive whisperer, the business therapist, and the team doctor. Basically, what I do is I help executives and managers just get better to create the kind of culture they really want, which is usually high functioning and collaborative, empowering cultures. I'm lucky, knock on wood, to make my living around the Monadnock region where I live and support a ton of amazing clients. And so one thing I'd like people to leave with is realization that, you know, there's power in collective wisdom, right? As we come together, we're stronger. So all of our voices together create such a strong circle. I know we're kind of in a lopsided, you know, trapezoid, I guess what we're called, looking at the screen. We're in a trapezoid, but we're actually really in a circle. So, you know, we're powerful together. And so we need to lean on each other, especially in lean times like this for some people. And, you know, there's power in that. So, you know, leaving this call with refocus, re-energizing, and just realizing that we're all together.
Awesome.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Absolutely.
Because Ann, our fearless leader, I know you're a little new to Zoom. Is there any way you can like mute everybody? Like go to participants and then say like mute all and then have us unmute one at a time, just because some people have things going on in the background. It's a little distracting.
I can.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. I gotta unmute. Wait a minute. All right, Stace, while I'm doing this, figuring out my new technology,
Sure.
start.
So I'm Stacy Nahiski. I know you guys can see my spelling of my name. It's a little tricky there, but it's Nahiski. And I have a business called Embrace Social You, and Susan just used my word. So I help entrepreneurs and small business to embrace social media as an opportunity to leverage it to connect with their people. And that is my message today, and that's my message on Wednesday when I have my session, and that is that connection isn't canceled. So we have these opportunities with Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and many more platforms to really build connection right now, whether we're open, partly open, working from home now, or completely closed. Now is the time to continue that connection, and we can use these tools to do that. So I teach people how to do that, and I get them excited to do it, because even Ann and Michelle here were not super excited about social media, and they're doing a great job. And I love to see people realize the amount of connection that we can have through our screens. It's people on the other side of those phones and those computers, so we can build that connection, and now's a really good time to do that.
Excellent.
You know, Stacy, to your point, I've noticed, you know, Facebook was becoming kind of tiresome, you know, right? You have to keep unfollowing all these political things if you want to keep your head normal. And now all of a sudden it's fun again. You know, people are posting pictures of their pets in their yards, and it's so much more fun now.
Yeah, I think it went through a period. I had to take a weekend and step back from Facebook and Instagram, which is totally okay to do. We can take breaks if we need to, but then we just have to remember also that we're in control of what we see, so we can unfollow and hide and not participate in the feed. We can do that too. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So participants, if you have questions, just unmute yourself and ask away, or we have chat open and I can read the questions to you. But until we get you some stimulating ideas to bring to the table, we have some questions that we can oh, Michelle.
Folks can raise their hand too, and
Raise your hand, yes.
watch for that. No, on the Zoom, to our earlier point, we're both learning Zoom. And I'm learning it only because our son is on Zoom now almost every day with school. So they have to learn. And I think as business owners, we have to learn to keep up with this situation. It's not going away tomorrow. So we need to learn. But if folks click on that participants, they can see everyone. And there's a little button that says raise your hand.
Ah.
Yeah, I'll say high five there. So that's also helpful to the conversation. And that too.
So just to give you a little idea, our boy is 7. And he taught something to Michelle the other day online that I was like, really? I didn't know it was there, or with our remote or something.
Oh, yeah.
We have a little 7-year-old that's getting us up to technology.
Well, I told him we were getting on a call and he said, I don't want to Zoom right now.
So let me
Anyway.
start some questions, if I might. And this is open to the group on how you want to answer is, what do you think business owners should really be focused on right at this moment? Because I can tell you, I have a whole nother business that I manage. I'm a property manager as well as doing business coaching. And I am so overwhelmed with not the fact that I had to lay off half my staff, so I'm doing all their work, but I'm in my cellar, so I didn't have all my stuff. And I'm overwhelmed of really how to get back to running my business. And I personally need help with that, so help me. Jeff.
I'll take a shot first over the bow. I think, one of the biggest things business owners and anyone really needs to work on is making sure that you're in the strongest position. So if you're overwhelmed and you're triggered, I call it triggered. So I do a lot of stress management in my work, and you'll hear my spiel on Tuesday at noon with Ann. But we're all going to have negative energy show up, right? And so we need to figure out strategies to employ to get us out of what I call the energy dip, right? So here we are moving and grooving, and then something happens and we dip into, say, overwhelm. It could be frustration, it could be fear, it could be anger, whatever it is. And that's certain intensity for a certain amount of time. And if I had my whiteboard, I'd show you, it's this little energy dip, right? We all get into it. Something might trigger it. We dip down, but then we've got to figure out, and that's what self-awareness is. It's like, okay, I'm triggered. What do I need here? Do I need to take a break? Do I need to just get something done? Do I need to call a friend? Do I need to go out for a long walk? Do I need to do 25 push-ups right now and, slap myself in the face? I don't know, whatever it is, and then I'll pass the baton, but do not underestimate the power of hydration and nutrition. I'm telling you, hydration is a major issue, not because Tom Brady made it sexy, but, there she goes, Carol's taken there. See, we all have it, right? So hydration is really the name of the game. Puts you in a stronger position metabolically, and so that's my 2 cents.
Awesome. Carol.
So I love that you're on at noon, Jeff, and like that I'm on at 3 tomorrow, because like our messages are close. Like we don't compete with one another. I feel like we really complement one another. So in the little ebook that I was telling you about, you can look up and find out whatever it is you want to find out. But I have what I call 10 stages of crisis. It's like when you recognize that things aren't as they were, then what we're doing, right, is we're going like, okay, you know, so I think the problem, the rub is when our expectation is that everything should be normal, whatever that is. And the truth is it's not. And then we try to go from where we are, which is feeling all the feelings, which change like literally every single second sometimes, to what it quote unquote should be. And then in the middle, what do you call the energy dip? I'm just going to call like, you know, basically hell. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And then, so if you recognize like where you are, so I'd like to take like I'm just going to throw down like the 10, and I came up with this myself. I didn't get it out of a book. I know there's plenty of books you can read. This is from my own personal experience and my knowledge and wisdom of the crises that I personally have experienced. Okay. So, and this is all recorded, and don't worry, you'll get the ebook if you want it. Just talk to Anne, and so you don't have to write this down. The first one is disbelief, right? So if you think about what happened, like 2 weeks ago, I know I was in basically disbelief because not everybody here is from New Hampshire. Now in New Hampshire, this came a little bit slower. In other parts of the country, say California, you know, different places, New York, it was here sooner. So I'm just going to speak from my own personal point of view. First point is disbelief. I really and truly was saying things like, oh, we're good here. Yeah. So that was number one. Number two, and I'm pretty good like this, but I will tell you, is panic. And what happened for me was on Friday night, it was 2 weeks ago, I got to go back, which feels like 2 years ago, but it was really only 2 weeks ago. I went to the grocery store on Saturday morning, early, 8:30, and an hour and a half later, you know, like with a full cart, I got out of there. So that was panic for me. And there's all different kinds of panic, and panic is still there, right? The third thing is anger and blame, right? And it's just like, that's normal. We get a little angry, and some people get a lot angry. Number 4 is sadness and grief, in my opinion. Number 5 is acceptance. Now, let us just say that you want to accept, but you haven't actually gone through like the anger and the sadness and the grief and whatever you're feeling. It doesn't matter. And then you try to get to acceptance and happy and readjusting. Like, that's the problem. So after acceptance, my next level is readjustment. And when you're there, now I believe is where you can begin to strategize. But if we're trying to strategize when we're in like panic or anger or blame, or we haven't worked our way through that, it's not going to work out. And not only for just us, because I believe we are the leaders here. Like, some of us might have teams, some of us might not have. Doesn't matter where the leader are. Our families, we're the leader of ourselves. Whoever we are leaders. So readjustment and strategizing can then happen, and that's my step 6. Now 7 is I call it attuning to a new normal, right? And that's going to be like, you know, like tuning an instrument, like depending on what song you're singing and where you're playing, that's going to be a little different. And then listening, I got this one, listening for strategic prosperity, meaning like I've probably heard like pivot, like, you know, because things change all the time. So we have to be savvy and we have to pivot. So that'd be 8. And then 9 would be just adjusting as required. And 10 would be, I call that peace. Because when we can be really peaceful, when we can be totally cool, knowing that we're doing the best we have with what we've got right in that moment. So yeah, so I think that's when we can really kind of find ourselves in that 1 to 10. And you know what? Throw your own words in there. Like, this is just mine. Like, your words are going to be different. It's perfect. But it really does, like Jeff says, it really does start with us. And until we start with us, the truth is that we really can't help anybody else as well, at least. That's what I got.
So definitely in the moments that you have to recognize that you're not okay. This morning I screamed at my bank customer service reps because they did not know anything about the small business loans that came out. And then I had to like go, okay, it's not their fault. Their managers haven't told them yet. Calm down, get yourself back together. This is you, this is not them. And so you do, and you can, so Carol, I like your steps, but I think too, you can go back to them after you've come out of one, where you're like,
Yes.
well, I thought I was all peaceful, but now it turns out, no, I'm still angry.
That's right.
So you might be working back and forth through them. But one of the things I found that helped me the most, because I think even though my life is not that different, I'm still at home by myself working, just in the same place as I always have been. But man, the information of the amount of people telling you what to do and how you fix it and how it's going to be made right if you just do this, or if you just work harder, or you just focus more, or you just make sure you keep your structure, and you just make sure that you eat right, and all of those things, it's too much. And that's where I was finding that I'm trying to do all these things that everybody's telling me to do, and it's not possible. So I think one of the things that's really important is to start to simplify those messages. Pick who you're going to listen to. Pick what things you're not going to do. If you're going to be on social media and Facebook and do that, make sure you're doing it socially, not that you're just absorbing article after article after article of what's going on, because that is depressing. And you will get yourself down, and that's a real hard one to get out of. So streamlining and making those, that's probably the biggest priority to me, is to prioritize what information you're going to receive.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks. Hey.
Okay, so my feedback on this too is we're talking about what we can do for ourselves, right? And what I've seen a lot is when people are, deciding what to post on social media, they're really leading with how they're feeling and what they're going through. And I see anger, I see sadness, I see a lot of different things, but it's oftentimes all about that person or that business and our reaction to COVID, and people are, they swipe past that. They don't care. So we just have to remember that when we are sharing, it's not about us, it's about our people. And we have to make sure that what we're actually putting out there via email, social media, or any other marketing channels is helpful to them, because they are getting, so many messages coming in. And if ours are more gloom and doom or sadness and it's just negative out there, it's really not going to resonate with them. It's not going to create that connection. So we have to work on ourselves. We also have to think that these are not platforms just to yell out how we're feeling or like buy my stuff, right? Because people don't want a digital flyer either. So we have to be sure that we're keeping in mind, putting ourselves in their shoes too.
And what I have been thinking after this entire thing and working with my business owners on is it's the panic, and the panic is in so many places, but it's in the cash flow. Panic is in the money. And their income has stopped. I have restaurants that have absolutely closed. They're not even doing takeout. They're just closed. But they still have those bills, and some of those bills are going to be able to be deferred and all this stuff. So I am meticulously having them go through every line on their P&L, every expense, to find out what is necessary, what is not, and just get rid of everything so we can lower that liability, protect that cash flow, figure out how much that new expense roll is going to be. And then we're going to go back to figure out, how innovative do I have to be in terms of getting more income in? Because I might do different things now. I coach a sugar house up in Lancaster, New Hampshire, and they can't stop work because it's sugaring season. If you stop, you've just lost tons upon tons of viable maple syrup. So they still have to have a crew, even though they're wholesale, because they sell to restaurants, gone. Their mail order is okay. So now it's like, let's just go after that mail order. Let's really go after things and just look at it from a different light. So it's that mind change of, hey, but wait a minute, I'm a restaurant. Well, no, but you can be a mail order person too if you figure out how to do that. So it's a huge shift. So we're asking people to do normal things, because when it comes to the cash, you don't have a lot of time. Reaction. You can't I'll think about it in a couple of weeks and decide on. No, we need to do something now, because that cash is going to go. How fast does cash go in a business? Fast. So that's really what I've been working on with my business owners, is to really, really dig down deep to those numbers to see if we can protect ourselves. But it is.
That's a good idea. I like how that, so that's just, it's thinking about how you do business differently. It's being
Exactly.
agile, right? It's that number 8, like listening for strategic prosperity, I guess, in my words, but whatever it is. And I just want to remind you, Anne, that sometimes when people call in, they don't know how to mute themselves, which is *6, but you can do that too.
Okay.
We'll keep,
Michelle, I think I just muted you. Sorry.
okay.
You're unmuted now.
That's okay. Well, I'd like to go back just for a second, because we do have, you know, a few folks on the line. I want to address any questions they may have before we do run out of time.
Like, why did everybody come on this call? Like, what is a burning question, no matter how dumb it sounds?
Well,
So
and everything that was said is spot on, because I work from home like you, Susan. I work from home every day, but everything has changed no matter what. And quite frankly, I was concerned, and Stacy, you made this point, everything is coming in. I had my chimney guy send me something about COVID-19. You know, everyone is talking about it, rightfully so. However, how do business owners pick and choose, where do I get my information? So I want to be sure we're getting our folks that are on the line and tuned in, any questions they may have. I'm going to get those answered.
Okay. Well, I think I have unmuted everybody for a
Yeah.
minute.
No, but that's okay. They can unmute themselves, perhaps.
Caitlin's currently muted.
We've got Michelle King. We've got several folks. Caitlin.
So we could give a quick little explanation of where to find these things for those who are new to Zoom. At the bottom of the window where you see our faces, there is a participants icon. It's people. And if you click on that, you can get a list and your name will be on there, and you're able to mute yourself or unmute yourself from there if you want to speak up. And then also there's a chat icon. And so if you would like to just add a note there as opposed to unmuting or speaking, we're happy to answer those notes there as well. So we're watching those
Good
chat.
idea.
And if you're on the phone, it's *6. to
Star
mute.
6 unmutes you on the phone, right?
So
Or not.
I got my control panel. I'm trying to follow everybody. So, but yeah, so we'd love to hear from everybody to see what's going on in your world. So let me ask a different questions. It's so weird out there. We have businesses that are totally closed, businesses that are partially closed, so their income stream just went, they're still making a little bit of something, you know, like the restaurants with takeout. And then we have people that are still going strong, I guess. Let's just talk about the ones that are closed, because if we want to go through the panic stages, I'm sure that's I know for my restaurant people, that's the biggest panic place. What would you advise the business owners that are closed on how to deal with this time in their life, in terms of whether it be professionally, whether it be personally? How do they, two questions. One is, how do they get through this and keeping their business intact? How do they get through this and keeping their family intact? Those are two huge questions, I know, but I know that I've talked to enough people that the businesses are closed and they just can't get out of their own way. So Carol, can I start with you?
You want to start with me?
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, Michelle had her phone.
Well, no, I'm in customer service. I didn't do my intro at the beginning. 25 years of sales and customer service experience. So right off the bat, I'm thinking about customers and staying connected. And I think that's part of Stacy's point on, you know, social media, things like that. But I think a step beyond that, you have your A, B, C customers that, you know, the really important ones that are critical to your business, pick up the phone and give them a call. You know, just touch base. How are you doing? How can I help? Maybe I can't, but at least you're keeping that relationship. So I guess quick bottom is keep the relationships with the customers during this time.
How about you, Carol?
Sure. So everybody's going to come at this from their own point of view, which is beautiful. So I'll just answer from my point of view in my own business. I am in research mode big time. So I just got off the phone just an hour ago with somebody who said they wanted to join my group coaching program. It's a 3-month group coaching to become your productive best. And I was actually asking her, what are her concerns now? What would she love to see in 3 months, in 1 month? And I was basically, just like you were saying, Michelle, like collecting that research and that data. So for me, and then I'll go back to me. The first thing I noticed when this happened, the first thing I went to was, okay, cool, how long till I run out of cash? Like, that's the first thing. Now, Anne, I know cash is your deal, so I'm not taking that away. What I'm saying
Okay.
is like that's the first thing to know, because when you run out of cash, you run out of business. Like, that's right. You don't have money, you don't have business, period.
Okay.
So you want to just kind of be, I think, you want to be real with yourself. It's not all about panic and doom and gloom. It's not all about running yourself ragged till you do run out of cash. It's about getting yourself, like Jeff and I talked about, clear enough and solid enough in yourself so that you can begin to make those strategic decisions, because a sugar house is going to make an entirely different strategic decision than a restaurant in Nashua, New Hampshire, which for anybody who's not in New Hampshire is a big city in New Hampshire, you know. So it's like that. Those are two different industries versus somebody like, say, for example, Stacy, who's, you know, all about social media and marketing. And so she has a whole, so you kind of can't really give a blanket answer, at least not in my opinion. Also, are you are you in your 30s with 3 little kids and you're the only breadwinner, right? Or are you like 58 and you were thinking, like, you know, I'll probably like do this for another like 5 years, but you have a little nest egg and you're saying, looks like the universe like says this is time. Like, so it kind of, there's so many variables. Yeah. That there's certainly, that's why it would be awesome if somebody would unmute themselves and we could like talk to you.
Michelle,
right? So in my opinion, that's what you got to do.
Actually, I think, Anne, I think there's a question here that's probably for you because you're the financial guru here. Michelle King is writing, I joined in hopes of learning more about the resources coming forth for assisting small businesses with much needed funding.
Yeah, and there are some really interesting ones. One's called the CARE Act. And they're so new. I talked to a banker the other day. They're so new. And Susan, this is why you probably didn't get any information, is they don't have all the details to even talk about. The CARE Act is very interesting. It's, and you need to talk to your banker about this. I'm just going to give you the highlight of what I've read. But it's where you'll be able to get 250% times what you've spent on payroll in this time of year last year, so it's a comparable that will help you with keeping people paid. It will help you pay rents, and it's something that you won't have to pay back, or it will turn into a grant. But there are a few. I think there's 3 huge things that came out of that stimulus package. But again, it's so soon. The thing I would, Michelle, I would tell you to do is go to your local bank and talk to these guys, because it's all through the SBA. So find a bank that does SBA loans. Go talk to them and get as much information you have as possible. I've seen it online. I talked to a banker, and he was unwilling to come on the call with us to talk about it. That's how new this is. But it's part of that $2 trillion stimulus package that was just signed, so the ink's still wet on it. Definitely go talk to your banker about it. And Susan uses, thank you. See, I can't multitask when I'm on Zoom. I can only do one thing at a time.
It's experience. After 10 years, you got it down. So these are a couple of PDFs that I've uploaded to the chat area that might help. It's a top line overview. They were shared with me this morning from one of my clients, actually sent them to me. So it is helpful. It's very top line, but yes, talk to your accountant, talk to your banker. More than likely you can get some money.
Yeah, there's definitely money available. It's just a matter of what the scary part of it is it's not, you won't get it tomorrow. It's not like you sign an application, you get it tomorrow. I believe, and again, Jack checked me on this, but I believe it's a 6-week process. So when you're talking about your cash flow, we need to be looking at it weekly. You need to have at least eight weeks of cash flow. Also be looking at lines of credit. Lines of credit are a beautiful thing. You use it when you need it. Once you get it, it's part of your business forever, and you only need to use it when you absolutely need it. But get the details on those things, because some banks say, you only have to partially pay it back. Other banks do a balloon payment at the end of the year. So there's other ways of getting money into your business. Please, please, please do not do credit cards. Do not start putting everything on credit cards, because they're not as forgiving as the banks are, as the SBAs. There's also great organizations in your area, like in New Hampshire, we have Community Loan Fund. We have in Vermont, NCIC. And they are fantastic organizations that get you grants. They can even get you grants to get coached, to have business coaches. So there's grants out there that you can that can be made available to you. So I would get on the computer and start researching, and then just start talking to as many people as you possibly can to see the quickest work that you can get. Michelle.
Well, New Hampshire is also offering unemployment to self-employed folks, which I have applied for, and I have been approved for a very small amount, but it's a small amount that I didn't have without applying.
Right.
So
Check
I
with your
don't know
state.
what other states are doing, but New Hampshire is doing, and they made it easy. It was easy. So just another thing to think about.
And are all these on your website, Ann, that people can go check out all these ideas?
They will be after this call.
That's
It's
how
a
real
good,
time
good
it is.
suggestion.
It's
Yeah.
real-time information. And you'll get them on our Facebook group as well. I know Andrew, who's my banker friend, has already put a lot of information on our Facebook group. So feel free to join Small Business Triage Facebook group and get some information.
Well, and I know Susan just put some files up on the chat, so just making sure all those get there too,
Yeah.
However that works behind the scenes.
I did download each of those.
Okay.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you, Jeff.
So, okay.
So I had a note about businesses
Okay.
that were closed. I don't know if we're moving on or going back to
Nope.
that, or.
Go ahead. I lost my train of
Yeah.
thought, so go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to share some examples, and I'm going to throw some into the Facebook group because I've been seeing some really good examples of businesses that are closed. In particular, one in Keene is a coffee shop called Prime Roast. I don't know if you guys know about that. They're always really good about sharing the stories of their employees and also their customers. And right now they're sharing just really nice stories about what their people are doing right now. They all travel a lot, but they can't travel right now. But they're sharing lots of really nice stories. So in this time that you are closed is the time to maintain that connection and continue to talk about why you're in business in the first place, maybe how you got started, what you're doing in the meantime. A great thing to do right now, of course, is to learn. So if you are closed, you have time to dig into some online trainings. I teach social media and I have, online trainings for that reason, but I've had new people hop in because they have time right now. And this is a time not to spend scrolling Facebook and Instagram to see what your cousin wrote about whatever. It's to take that time and watch stuff like this and dig into the rest of the summit because there's so much good stuff. So and I heard this by somebody else and I can't remember who said it, but we want to look back on this time and say, we use that time to learn a new skill or try something we had been meaning to try or finish something we've been meaning to do. We want to be able to look back and say, that's when I accomplished that, not that's when I sat and binge watched that tiger show on Netflix, So this is a really, really valuable time, and we need to take a break too. If we've been given the gift of a break, we can do that too. So, yeah.
So I would chime in because, I am of course going to go to process. That's where, that's my world. As Carol said, we come from our own perspectives, right? So if you are not working, this is a perfect time to sit and start to figure out where all those bottlenecks are in your business. And how can you work them out through a system, and write it down. Don't just have it in your head. Actually write it down. Make sure that you have the steps to work through. And then when you're ready to start again, you've streamlined a business that had a challenge in it. And so you'll be able to jump in. And I see Stacy saying she loves Asana. I use Teamwork. I like Teamwork the best. But Asana is great, and Asana is free. Basecamp also, I think, has free for one project, and then Teamwork also has free for up to 5 people, I think. So any of those tools are a great place to systemize things, to make checklists, to start to write up documents that say, hey, this is how we check out a customer after they've finished their meal. And go through those steps. How many times have you guys been to a restaurant and you can't seem to get out? You've done everything else great, but where is my check, right? I'm sure many restaurants have a challenge there, and now is a great time. Let's figure out how to move our table. How do we turn it? So those are the types of things that you could look at. For a catering company, maybe it's building a checklist of what has to go on the truck every time you go out that are the standard items, as opposed to, the specific things that were ordered just for that event. So there's a lot of opportunity to develop that over time as well. And I think, did Caitlin have a question here?
I've replied.
Oh, you did? Okay, great.
Yeah.
How about you, Jeff?
Thank
Your
you.
thoughts?
Yeah, thanks. Awesome, everybody. I was going to say you guys, but say you fabulous women that I'm collaborating with here. I used to be Melissa, but now I'm Jeff. So, yeah. And so
This is why I love you, Jeff.
inside joke there. I think just another idea is don't suffer in silence, right? Like, make a list of everybody you know. People want to help you, honestly, and like just coming on here, I'm learning something. This is all real time for all of us. But if you're a restaurateur, who else do you know in the restaurant business? Lean on other CEOs, COOs, get in with these, even start a group, right? Start a Facebook group like this for other CEOs, or who do you know in finance? And we're lucky to have you at our disposal, and you were on my list to contact until you contacted me. It was just perfect synchronicity. We need to lean on each other through this trying time and collaborate. So, people might have tips and strategies like Asana and I see Trello and these other things, right, that you might not have thought of. If you're left in your basement office trying to figure this out yourself, pulling your hair out, I'm the only one with no hair on the call, by the way. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay.
So
I do want. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Taryn had a question too. Just wanted to point that out to you whenever you're ready.
Oh, I've had lots of people chime in privately, so.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You're good.
Yeah.
I do want to get Caitlin's. I know we've talked a little bit about Caitlin's. She put in a note about working for Ace Software. How can a B2B company like yours best support our SMB clients and vendors during all this uncertainty? So we talked about really keeping in touch with your clients as well, and your vendors. What I've always taught my business owners to do is what's called trickle marketing, which I really love. Trickle marketing. It's where you just slowly keep in touch with them, and not necessarily business stuff, It can be just checking in, just knowing something about them that they, that they like to do, like fly fishing or something, and sending them an article. Keeping in touch just as people, as opposed to as businesses. It does a couple things. One, it keeps you in front of them. And two, it takes that business relationship and turns it into a personal one. And when you have a personal relationship with your vendors and your customers and your clients, you treat each other a little bit differently. And the more you can focus on the personal, as well as being, a great business person in terms of being fair and honest and doing all the right things as a business person, it puts your working relationship in a whole different point of view. So what I would suggest is really thinking about, now if you have gobs and gobs of them, it would be a different conversation, which I would love to have with you. But you can easily figure out a way, whether it be weekly or every other day, or how many times you want to get in touch with them, of being an email, it could be a personal contact, it could be a phone call, it could be something small that's not going to be like going, oh my God, them again kind of situation. But it's really important now to keep those relationships going and keep in front of them, but not aggressively so they feel like they're getting stopped. So I'm not sure if that was a full-fledged answer for you, but I think that's a bigger conversation, because I'd have to get to really know what kind of customers you were talking about. But there's definitely ways of doing it so it feels good, it feels true. So hopefully I answered that question for you. There's some more messages down here on the bottom.
Yeah, and just one other thing, like Susan and Stacy said, I think doing research for your clients is a good way to do it too. So sending them positive articles that are business sector related, if it's a restaurant business, for instance, what are they doing? What kind of financing? I mean, look at all the tools that you've all posted already on this call. It's amazing what's out there. And if you take a little time to research for your customers and then share that, whether they use it or not, they'll remember that you took the time to, to take that time. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a great point. One of the best, I used to be a buyer for Sam's Club 100 years ago, and the way my vendors could integrate themselves into my good favor is to take projects off my desk, because we're busy, right? We're like, we got 100 million things going on, and we're trying to juggle a million balls. And if I had a vendor say, hey, let me take this off your desk and I'll do whatever I need to do with it and give it back to you finished, so all you have to do is say yes or no. When I came down to planogram time and whether I was going to put his stuff on the shelf, I thought, that's a really good partner. So when you start changing your relationships into vendor-buyer, vendor-customer, and came a collaborative partnership, all of a sudden you have a whole different dynamics. And you're out now you're working together for the good of all. So as opposed to against or adversarially against each other. That's great. Yeah, great point. All these things are flying in here. So any questions on here that I haven't answered, because it seems like you guys are having these background conversations.
We are.
That's Zoom.
That's how Zoom works, Ann.
Yeah, okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I've definitely heard a lot lately that businesses are built on relationships and visibility. So I think probably part of the reason people are coming out of the woodwork offering things is because they just feel called to. I mean, this is an exact example of it. Like, Ann's like, oh my gosh, because we've been kind of a consortium for a while. Let's get on a Zoom call and see what we can do. I'm part of a lot of these kind of things. So yeah, because we want to give. We know that we're putting kind of money in the bank, so to speak, and we're being visible. So it's kind of like a three-way win. Our heart's happier, we're out there more, and we're relating with people. We're not just this little sort of cute icon with a nice logo. We're
coaches. Our DNA is putting out fires and helping people succeed. Yeah. So when this whole thing happened, I mean, Stacy, I have to blame Stacy for this, really. She's the one that really pushed us to do it, which thank you for that. But it was really, how do we rally the troops and help as many people as possible? Everyone's rallying at the same time, so now we're just overwhelming people. But hopefully, hopefully our people that are participating are getting some good stuff out of this and feel supported. That we're here to really help as a community to get through this new normal, I guess, if you call it something.
Yeah, and I just want to say too that we've been talking about how people connect with people, but I could say something, and then there's 3 other social media people who talk about the same thing, but you may connect with me more than them or them more than me, and there's room for all of us. And I think that's one thing that this whole thing has taught us is we're all connected. We're all in this together. And I love that. And that's like my vibe. So I'm all about it, and community over competition and collaborating and coming together, because, all of us may not have known any of the others, but now we're familiar, and I'm thinking, oh, I got to reach out to this person and that person. Maybe we could collaborate on something and borrow each other's audiences. The more eyeballs, are open to us, so it's just exciting. And I just see it as a huge opportunity to look at the bright side versus wallowing in the really tough parts, which they're there, but we'll all feel better if we can focus on the more positive part of coming together.
That's exactly why Michelle and I came up with Counter Business Resources, honestly, is I've been coaching for over 10 years, and my forte is finances, strategy, organizational structure. It's the kind of the crux of your business, the core of the business. I am horrible, I shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm not very good at marketing. Social media totally is not my thing. So as I was going into clients, I didn't want to lose that client for one thing. Plus, I wanted to make sure that they worked on all parts of their business, because you need all of that to run a business, not just 1 or 2 things. So I would bring people with me, other coaches. And sometimes it worked out well, sometimes not so much. But that's how I came up with Counter Business, is because I wanted one place where they could go and they could get all the information they needed, and they had awesome people to rely on, and they weren't sitting there Googling every night. Okay, well, now I've got marketing. Okay, now I'm going to go over here. And we could get into collaborations, because that's the only way we succeed, is collaborating. And a business, that one business owner can't do everything. I mean, most corporations have departments. Now we have business owners that are the all departments, and you need support on that. And so that's where Counter Business Resources came, as a one-stop shop for collaboration and success. So, and that's kind of where I got you guys. Because you are my Counter Business Resources. So hopefully everyone's getting to know you a lot better, and can tie into that on our site and in our Facebook. So, any more questions out there?
I will say I've got to step off, but I want one takeaway that I have really embraced more is setting up those processes for myself. Because I've got the little guy, I know I'm not the only one with kiddos, so now I have to balance work and kiddo. When he was gone to school, I had from 9 to 2, I could get all my stuff done. But I think Susan was saying that putting those projects together and priorities together, and actually write them down, what I need to do in my scheduling. Otherwise, I make myself crazy, and then I feel like I get nothing done. So,
I think
but I appreciate everyone joining the call, and the attendees that came on to listen, and reach out anytime on the Facebook page with questions. I want to be sure they know this isn't just one and done. We're here always, and we have a whole week of everyone talking on their specific topics. So thank you all.
Thank you.
And I do have to go take care of the kiddo. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Bye.
I think that it's interesting too, as someone who's done this and knows that if the cat walks across the desk, or the dog barks, or, the UPS guy comes, because they still, even when you work from home, they only come during your phone calls. Getting all that stuff to become more of hey, it's life, and we're all living life now, and it's one life. Our work and our personal are now combined. And
Yeah.
so the separating it has become much more of a challenge. And maybe that's a good thing,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. You know what? I think we're all going to be better people, better employers, better employees at the end of this, because we're not going to take it so much for granted.
Yeah.
But we're running out of time, so I'd love to be able to go around and just get one thing from each of us to say how it's kind of like to end the call of something that you'd like to say. Jeff,
Can I go? Because
You may
I'm
go.
gonna have to jump off.
Yep. You may.
I love this. This is really fun, really great. And as someone getting to know the technology myself, I just had a Zoom call with my Keene Staters, and they're very adept at Zoom already. They have it all down. I just want to say, don't lose hope. You know, like take action, even if it's one thing. Just keep taking. It's like dollar cost averaging. Keep putting it in the bank. Take action. That's what I'm taking away today. That's what I'm committed to. It's what I try to help my clients right now. Just keep going forward. Try to focus on the end result. Let's get it done. So
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it.
thanks so much.
Stacy.
Yeah. I'm just going to reiterate, it's about connecting, and connection isn't canceled. That's what I'm talking about on Wednesday. If you're stuck on what to say on social media, I'm here to get you excited about it, because it truly is an opportunity, that and email marketing. And it's a way to stay in touch with your people. And you, as a business owner, have a stage in these online platforms, and you have the ability to communicate. You know, you can do Facebook Live. It's like having an infomercial. We have all of these things at our disposal. And if we are keeping our message to ourselves because we're too afraid, because yes, it's scary to hit that live button or to put stuff out there sometimes, but if we're keeping that in, that's not really fair to people either. So we have something that's worth putting out there, and we can utilize these platforms. So just think of it as connecting with people more so than like, I have to do social media. It's I get to do social media, and it's a way to connect with people, so that when we do open again, we have that connection, and there'll be people there for us when we open.
Yeah.
Awesome. Carol.
Yeah, I want to say that's true, right? Because we are preparing for some time in the future where we're not all going to be shut down. It'll look different. We don't know what it's going to look like, but there will be a time. So to just constantly be saying, okay, based on what I know now, what's my next best step? I love my favorite takeaway. Well, there were lots of them, but one of them was when Susan talked about what not to do. Like, it's okay to have these things not to do. Like, I love the not to do list. And I'm really curious as to what specifically our guests love. Like Michelle said, King said, it was inspiring. I want to know what their best takeaway is.
Yeah. Yeah, so feel free to share.
Yeah, the one little tidbit from was it Stacy? She said, create before consuming, because I get out of my what I wanted to create as soon as I start looking at everybody else's, because comparison Connie comes in and all sorts of junk. So I will embrace the create before I start consuming.
Love it.
Very good. Very good.
The comparison is a big one, I think, that we're all in very different situations, and that every individual is in a very different situation. And not saying, well, such and such is doing this and they're doing great during this time. No, you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And I would say put that structure in place, get your structure, and then simplify and just go down to the basics.
I love simplify.
So I am all about the money.
Yeah.
All about money. Which I am going to be doing a class at 3:00 on how to keep cash in your business. So check that off on your calendar. But I think the biggest thing a business owner could do right now is to take a breath and then kind of think to yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Get back to basics in your own head about living the passion of why you're doing it. I don't know about you, but you're passionate at one point, and then years later, you're like going, oh my Lord. am I still doing this? And you forget, you forget why you're doing it. Now's the time to really kind of spark that passion again, because when you do, you bring so much to the table that is just incredible.